Okay, so we go to ASSIN North straight now. Gabi, I start with you. I know your team has been embarking on some vigil activities. What's that about? Your mic is on?
It's on.
Okay, her mic is on. Please check.
It wasn't our team that went on the vigil. It was the indigents of ASSIN North constituency.
Oh, it wasn't NDC supporters?
It was the indigents of ASSIN North constituency.
Oh, okay.
Who went on a vigil in solidarity with their member of parliament who had faced tremendous persecution by the incumbent NPP administration. From the time that this gentleman went into parliament, before he was even sworn as a parliamentarian, there had been a whole agenda to exit him out. You remember very well the day of the speaker's election, how they went to court to seek an injunction to have him thrown out at such late hour. And subsequent to that, there had been earlier attempts to make sure that he didn't even get to parliament. And for some strange reason, the NPP administration since January 6th has been on a witch hunt to ensure that the people of ASSIN North do not have a representative in parliament, even though they went to the polls and they chose a member of parliament to represent them.
So you think that it is the people that feel that they are restricted, but you know, from the other arguments...
It is the people who feel that they have been deprived.
Yes, from the other arguments, people also feel that it is the NDC that was not vigilant enough to have Judge Equesin go through the right processes and get to the end of it.
It's about interpretation of the law. Up until the Supreme Court gave justice, to the best of our understanding, you have to prove your denunciation at the time of going to the polls.
Yeah.
That was how we understood what is represented in the rules governing this election. Prior to his vetting, he showed proof that he had started the process of denunciation, and he brought a certificate that he had started the process. At the time that we were going to the elections, he already had the certificate from the Canadian government showing that, indeed, he has denounced his citizenship. So to the best of the NDC's knowledge, we took a candidate who was 100% Ghanaian to the polls.
Let me find out if the COVID period or its activities affected that process. And did he make it clear? I'm hearing that he actually told the courts or something of that nature. Did he?
He did. And that was the time that there were global restrictions.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of countries had lockdowns, and so general bureaucratic administration in Canada had also come to a slow halt. And so it did affect the time that the certificate came. Nevertheless, as at the time, and we want to make this emphatically clear, as at the time we went to the polls on December 7th, he had his denounced certificate showing that he was no longer a citizen of Canada and that he was now 100% Ghanaian citizen.
Oliver, can you help me understand this?
I mean, this is a matter where, you know, I think that our entire law is poorer for this decision.
Really?
And it goes a bit further back to Adamu Sakande, who Sumaila Bilwe are taken to court on the other side. But in this case, even if the court, whatever the court's decision in the previous case was, in this case, we're hoping at least that so many other factors would have compelled the court to rule differently. And one, at the time this individual is elected, he was a Ghanaian. He was not a dual citizen. As she was saying, that the denunciation certificate had come in. Two, the Electoral Commission had independently assessed and made a decision for him to proceed and go forward. That they had determined that because he had commenced the renunciation process, that he was competent to go ahead and contest for the elections. That even at the time the polls were held, he had presented to the Electoral Commission a certificate to that effect. So when he presents before the Supreme Court, this was an individual who was by every sense not only a full-blooded Ghanaian, but he had no other allegiances as far as dual citizenship was concerned. At the time he takes his seat in Parliament, he was not he didn't owe any other allegiances. So for me, when what the court had before
but the law prescribes a different procedure. It doesn't
the law says that
at the time
a person should not be a member of Parliament if he owes allegiance to another country.
Okay, I get
The
you.
question is whether or not at the time he owed allegiance to any other country.
Okay.
Not at the time he was elected.
So it doesn't
and not at the
specify
time he was
whether
sworn
or
in.
not at the beginning
Yes.
of the process of elections.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, not at the time he was in election and not at the time the court was seized. The question seems to be now at the time of filing his nomination, because his renunciation certificate was not complete or not ready, he shouldn't have contested. I hold a different view. The Supreme Court has held differently. I don't necessarily think the NDC dropped the ball on this, even though I think that their approach to it legally was disappointing. I don't think that in any way, shape, or form there was any expectation of the NDC winning this in court. I think that they should have considered a political approach. A political approach would have been for him to resign immediately and provoking a by-election, like 3 months in, when these things were ongoing. That would have been a political approach. I don't think that everything, particularly and I'm very surprised about the NDC to say this, for a party that has consistently talked about the Supreme Court as a court that they seldom trust. It's so shocking to me their willingness to continue to be stuck in that process. When in terms of a democracy, there's a range of tools you can use. Some can be legal, some can be political. There's no reason why it has to be the legal approach. Sometimes a political approach might be the most expedient way to achieve democratic ends.
As much as I respect that contribution, let me also make it clear that the case did not start from the Supreme Court. We started from the High Court. And we were of the view that we were going to win it because for us, the evidence was clear that Assad going into the elections, he was no longer a dual citizen. Compared to what this compares with Honorable Akande and co., they had their dual citizenship whilst they were sitting in Parliament. Sakande.
Yeah.
He had his dual citizenship whilst he was sitting in Parliament. This one denounced it, even as at the time of going for the election, as at the time that he was sworn in as a member of Parliament, he was no longer holding those allegiances.
Let me get to Richard. My producer has communicated something very interesting to me. But Richard, let me hear from you. So you have open nominations. Yes, you've opened nominations as a party for people to pick forms and contest, right? How far have you gone with it?
Thank you very much. Greetings to Gabriela and Mr. Vomauer there. We've opened nominations today and it will close by close of day today. And then the processes would start and we are hoping to have our elections on the 7th of June. And then thereafter, just carry on with the campaign. So myself, as we speak, I'm actually just wrapping up to head on to ASSIN North to begin our processes there. So we are quite ready. We've got all our operational systems activated, and hopefully we'll be fully on the ground starting tomorrow, and then try to win that seat, which we think we would.
Does what's happening to the MPP regarding Judge hits you differently in any way? Or you don't care?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a particular way you want me to understand your question, but it's too broad.
Yeah, I'm asking if what is happening with Judge who was yesterday struck out of the list of MPs, and NDC as a political party that has been your close contender, does it affect you in any way, positively, negatively, or you don't care, you are doing your thing?
Well, so let me understand your question. The possible way I should is to say that you're trying to say the ruling in the case involving the former MP for ASSIN. In this case, I don't know if we'll call him former MP because his name has been expunged on the basis of Supreme Court ruling that he wasn't validly elected. So, in other words, he's never been MP, so to speak. You know, Annie, Mr. Voma was telling you about the case to do with Abu Sakande, and then now we have Mr. Jesse Kwesen. The issue there for me is the occasion for our judiciary to enforce the law or to uphold the Constitution. And so it has nothing to do with anybody's feelings It has nothing absolutely to do with the New Patriotic Party. It was the constitution of our country that was activated, and adhering to our constitution, it was found by the Supreme Court that he could not be considered as a validly elected member of parliament for the good people of ASSIN North. That, for us, give us no benefits or gives us or render any disadvantage to us, except that as Ghanaian, we can all turn around and say that our laws have been upheld, and we should encourage that our laws work. And the reason we must do that, and it is that then all of us are truly equal. It doesn't matter where I come from or what political party I belong to. If we have a situation where the three arms of government are working independently but in tandem to achieve good governance for our country, then as a citizen, I can be confident and go out there knowing that the law protects me as much as it protects my brother Vomawo or Gabriela or your good self.
Yeah, but
So
there was a striking difference, Oliver stated, when he cited the Sakande's case as against Judge Ikwesin's case. And, you know, the situation where Sakande was still holding on to his citizenship, whilst Judge obviously denounced it at the time of taking office or at the time of, opening of polls. And so they are not one and the same case. So I'm not sure how you think the law has been upheld in this case.
It's not what I think, but certainly you know that your program is not a courtroom. And so we are here on your program to discuss a ruling from a court. And any ruling from a court is a legal precedent, is law, as it were. So what the court has upheld is what we are discussing. So in the case of Abu Sakande, there's a ruling from a court. In the case with Mr. Ikwesin, there's a ruling from a court. So since here is not a court, we are not going to relitigate what the court has ruled. We're only discussing, and the evidence, or more or less the import of my statement to you, is that we have a situation where the courts have independently looked at our laws vis-a-vis an individual who may be deemed to be to have infracted the law, and considered in that ruling to say that yes, they are guilty or are not guilty. So that ruling is what I'm saying, that the process through which all of us as citizens can see that our laws are being upheld independently, okay, and our judiciary is working in that fashion to ensure it doesn't matter who is involved and can reach a ruling that upholds our laws, gives me comfort as a citizen. So it's not a question of what obtained in Abu Sakande's case, insofar as the court have reasonable evidence. And my brother Bobawo is a lawyer and knows that in court they deal with evidence, unless that has changed recently. And if that hasn't changed and the court still operates on the basis of evidence, then we can be confident to say that the ruling that has come out dealt with evidence, and the evidence did not favor our brother Ikwesin, hence the ruling. And so my message is that as a Ghanaian and as a citizen, I take that with great comfort to say our laws are working, and we should all encourage our judicial system to work impartially in those sense. The question, I think, I just want to veer off briefly to what Vomawo said about the NDC not trusting the Supreme Court. Actually, the NDC trusts the Supreme Court. They only pretend not to trust the Supreme Court, because you remember in the 2020 petition that they went about lambasting and besmirching the character and the image of the Supreme Court, saying that they have been mistreated. But then in their closets, they admit that they didn't have any evidence to be able to even win the case. And now, so Annie, I submit to you that if you go to a court and you going into the case knows you don't have any evidence, and you know the court deals with evidence, and you go to that court and lose your case, and then you come out to tell people that you have been mistreated, and you know you don't have any evidence. Today, we know that the NDC knows that they lost that case, except they were pretending to all of us and to their membership to suggest that they have been mistreated, but in their closet, they know, because their general secretary admitted and confessed to it, that going into that case, they didn't have any evidence. And so the Supreme Court was right in ruling in 2021 to say that the NDC had no case, and they did so unanimously. And the NDC themselves have come to reinforce that Supreme Court ruling. So they trust the Supreme Court. The only thing is that they want us to believe they don't trust it. So they keep going there. If they have the evidence and they trust that the evidence will hold out in court, they will keep going, except that they don't have evidence in the case involving our brother. And I want to just conclude by saying that the New Patriotic Party takes no joy in the matter, except that what we can all say is that our laws are being upheld. Even as we speak now, I'm sure Mr. Vorma probably knows a bit more about this as well. The efforts that is ongoing in Parliament, from my understanding, is bipartisan support. The bill enjoys bipartisan support, trying to repeal Article 94 2A as something that, as a matter of fact, I think that should be looked at, but of course, must be on the basis of bipartisan support. So nothing is done untoward. And I think that is the conversation we have to have here. And in ASSIN, we're going to have to explain to people, the NDC, Gabriela, I hear they are saying a lot of things on the ground. They are miseducating the people, inciting the people as though that the New Patriotic Party has any particular interest in that, in trying to remove the Member of Parliament for ASSIN North. No, we don't have any interest. If we have any interest, Annie, it is the interest that our Constitution must be respected. And I think that that's a common interest. The NDC, just as us, wants our Constitution to be adhered to. And so if that is the standard, then I think that the NDC does have a case.
But if you say you don't have any interest, then you must as well abandon the election in the area. You have an interest.
What are you talking about, Annie?
You have an interest in winning the seats, don't you?
No, we are talking about the case. Those are two different things.
Okay.
I'm talking about the case, not the election. That's what election, as a political party, how can we not have interest in election? We're going to an election. We contested that election in 2020. It is the case I'm speaking about that we have no interest in saying that he stays in Parliament or not. But what happened is that the law finds his election to be invalid. And on the basis of that, a by-election is forced on us. And as a political party, we want to contest and win that election, which is why we're preparing to go to ASSIN North. But the point I just want to make simply is that it is time we stop the miseducation of people to create the impression that the New Patriotic Party had any particular interest in removing from Parliament. We didn't write the Constitution just yesterday. We didn't write the Constitution after Mr. Jesse Question's election to insert Article 94 2A in there for him to be cited for its infraction. It has been there and it's been enforced in the case of Adamu Sakande, and it's enforced in his case. So we just have to, as a citizens, ensure that our law.
Right. I think that point has been made. Let me allow. Hold on there. Let me allow Gabi to respond to.
Says that they don't have any interest. It was the LPP who took the issue to court.
No, he has separated the court case from the seat or the constituency.
It was their director legal. What's his name? Mr. Frank Davis.
Frank Davis, yes.
Is he a member of the NDC? No, he's the director of legal for the MPP. So the MPP had an interest. The MPP deliberately wanted this seat, but the mistake the MPP has made is that, you see, in 2016, the NPP lost the seat by 15,000 votes. We had about 10,000, a little over 10,000 in that election. In 2020, we increased it to 17,000, and they got 14,000. That means that we cleared the 5,000 deficit from 2016 and topped up, making 7,000 new votes. So if they think that we are going into ASSIN North constituency and it's under Kumewu for them, then I'm sorry to inform the NPP that you are in for a really big battle in ASSIN North. We are not giving up Jeje Kwesi easily. We are not giving up that seat easily.
And thereby fielding Jeje Kwesi again.
We will field him again. And if the NPP attempts any more machinations against this gentleman, I will personally take it upon myself as a mission and tell the people of Ghana that the NPP has a personal agenda to show wickedness against this individual. Because I don't think that you can pair, I don't think that one individual...
But that campaign won't fly.
No, I don't think that one individual can go through as much as this poor gentleman has had to endure since he came to Ghana to come and represent his people in ASSIN North.
But on a lighter note, if I
and let me finish.
If I have an issue with this whole thing. In the constituency,
I have an issue with this whole thing. Because here's the case that as a country, you are somebody who lives outside Ghana, am I right? Or you're educated?
Oh.
So now you are now locked here.
Oh, yeah,
But for some time, you were out of this country. And consistently, the country keeps making references to people like you to come back and help us to develop. Am I lying? Yeah. So if somebody in Canada decides that my people are not well represented in ASSIN North, let me leave Canada and come to Ghana and contribute my share. For me, this is the perfect picture of a government and a political party that has no interest. It does not preach what it says. It has no interest in the well-being of Ghanaians, to the extent that you can even take it to those in the diaspora. You use your mouth to tell them to come to Ghana and come and contribute. And then when they come to Ghana to contribute, you persecute them. How is that? And you tell me you have no interest. You have every interest.
Are you putting yourself in his shoes? I mean, in the shoes of Jeje Kwesi.
Jeje Kwesi, I mean, I think it's a difficult one. And I think some part of me feels that he's been unfairly treated. But I think we have to, the conversation around this whole, what is the role of dual citizens and Ghanaians in the diaspora in our development is one that we have to speak with certain consistency on the matter. And I think one of the examples is what she gives. But there's also the broader issue of the represented ROPA.
Yeah.
What we've been talking about, they having the right to vote for as many years as it's been now, but no proper steps has been taken to ensure that people in the diaspora get to participate in governance in this country. It's not everybody who wants to up and leave and come and contest for elections,
right?
But people want to have a say in the direction of their country.
We make.
If we are interested in that, then we have to be able to take the processes and make processes that Ghanaians in the diaspora are involved in the decision-making process. That is real commitment, not fighting over one seat for one individual, but making the conversation broader about what is the role of persons in the diaspora over this. And I think Richard makes a fair point about the law which is currently in Parliament, which is the attempts to amend Article 94 in this respect, and also generally about a constitution that creates dual citizens and second-class citizens, closes the door to certain roles in our republic to them. I don't think it's consistent with the kind of, particularly a country which is a net exporter of individuals, that we have more Ghanaians in the diaspora than many other countries. I think that this is something where we have to take a critical look as a nation to be able to invite people in the diaspora in the process of moving the country along. After all, they bail our economy out by being one of the highest net contributors to... Yes, through remittances. And that's something we need to take serious, I think.
So I have a few minutes, but Richard, let me come to you first. The allegations and accusations of votes buying in the just ended Kumawu elections, are we going to be, recording similar... Oliver, I interrupt him. Are we going to be seeing similar recordings in the next by-elections that we're faced with in ASSIN North?
Well, you call it allegations, and once people decide not to make false allegations, you won't hear about it. We're going into ASSIN North to canvass for vote the way we did in Kumawu. We went there. It shocked people that is our stronghold, but yet we went there and deployed all that are deployable on our side, from president, vice president, chief of staff was there. All our presidential aspirants came there to contribute their token so that we won that seat. We're going to do the same thing. One thing we understood with the leadership of our national executive, our chairman, and general secretary, and the entire team, is to say that every election must be approached with a certain desire and passion, and that's what we're going to do in ASSIN. We're mobilizing to go. I take Gabriella's point as a challenge, a democratic challenge, that we'll all go there and see who has a superior argument, and then we'll make that and see that in the end, the people will make their independent choice to elect the New Patriotic Party. I believe in that any day when democracy is given a chance, the New Patriotic Party will reign supreme when it comes to elections. So the allegations that people are making, people won't stop making allegations. And so that is not what we're going to be moved by. We're going to deploy our strategy of canvassing people and saying our message to them in clear terms.
Strategy of canvassing people, does that include vote buying?
Well, I don't know. You must look at your dictionary. What canvassing means, Annie. It simply means that convincing people. And I don't know if that means that you pay them money, but we don't do that. Maybe at Metro you do that.
I'm grateful for your time, Richard. Gabby.
Be happy to see him on the ground.
I'll be happy to see him.
Let me make it clear that after all the vote buying and other machinations, they could only increase their votes by only 300 votes. That should tell you that they did a poor job at canvassing the votes.
Okay.
Now, the LPP has this narrative. They believe that they've done so much in ASSIN North, and so that should automatically get them the seat. But when you visit ASSIN North, the people of ASSIN North know who exactly has their interest at heart and which of the political parties has done a lot for them. Even in the time of persecution of J.J. Kwesi, he still has done so much for his constituency. I'll give you an example. He brought in new street lights, rehabilitated the old. Today, there are 1,200 street lights flashing in ASSIN North because of J.J. Kwesi. NPP, common Pokwasi interchange, the lights are already off. Common motorway from Tema Accra motorway, they put the lights on for 10 days and off it went.
No common, no.
Oh, my sister, 1,200 for a member of parliament. He's done a lot. He gave a canoe to the people of Pra Agave to be able to cross the Pra River. And let me also make it clear to Richard. The people of ASSIN North see Pra River every single day. That is a remembrance to your mismanagement and your failure as a government to protect the environment and their livelihoods.
Okay.
They see that every day. There's this new road under construction that when you are outside ASSIN, you believe that, oh, the NPP is constructing a new road. The people of ASSIN North know very well that that project is an NDC project. It was the Yamasa-Bekwai Road, divided into 3 phases, started in 2009. The contract was signed 2009 under President Atta Mills. It took President Mahama in 2014 to unlock it because when we rebased the economy, we now had to go back for new contractual arrangements. And President Mahama intervened in that facility and got that facility reinstated. That road was Bekwai Praso, which ended at ASSIN Praso, where they have the bridge. Then from ASSIN Praso to the nursing training college at ASSIN Fosu. That is what the NPP is showcasing as the achievement. It is not the NPP's achievement. That is an NDC project. And to tell Richard, to tell Akufo-Addo, that we are waiting for the 3rd phase to start from ASSIN Fosu to Yamransa. That is the dual carriage road from Central Region to Yamransa to Ashanti Region. We want them to continue that road. Forget about sending bulldozers and all those things into ASSIN North.
Okay.
Go and complete that road. And let me also say this.
Quickly, my time is up.
ASSIN North is not Kumeu. ASSIN North people, when you bring it, they will take it. But you can't influence them.
Okay. Oliver, you have 30 seconds. My time is up.
No, I just find it very rich that we're having this conversation about ASSIN North when the people of Santrofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likwe have no representation in this parliament. It's a matter I'm still interested in, that the electoral commissioner is held accountable for it, and we'll continue to pursue that with our limited funds and without the party support that exists for other places.
When it comes to that, I'm with you on that one. I'm grateful that you came into the studio. All right, so that's what time will allow us. Oliver Bakab-Vomawo, he is a lawyer, and of course, he champions national interest issues. I had Gabriela Tete with me, and also Richard Anyagba via Zoom. My name is Ania Fompo. Thank you for joining us. We'll bring you good afternoon, Ghana. Hey, good morning. Good afternoon, Ghana tomorrow and Friday as well. Thanks for watching.